All right, who am I? I'm Joseph Miranda, broker and owner of Miranda Executive Realty. I've been a licensed agent since 2007. I've been full-time since 2012 when I took the leap into real estate to sell real estate exclusively and only doing real estate. I built my career on cold calling. When I started, so my decision to go full-time in real estate included moving to a whole different area. If you know me for a while, you know that I'm from the Midwest. I'm from the Chicago area. And around 2010, we made the decision that we were going to leave that area and find a whole different area to live in. Took us about a year or so. We went on a couple trips, checked out some different states, some different areas, Phoenix, Texas, different. And then finally, we landed in Florida. I had no family here. I had no friends here. Besides that one trip, I hadn't even been to Florida. We packed up 2 minivans and sold everything, gave everything away, drove to Florida. Nobody would rent to us because didn't have a job, didn't really have anything but, a little bit of cash. Finally, we got an agent, helped us find a place. So, when I first got into real estate down here in Florida, I didn't have a sphere. I didn't have anything. So, I really had to do a whole lot of cold calling. So now I do less because the good news is with cold calling is once you've built that database, once you've built those relationships, if you keep up with those, then your calls are more warm. Sometimes you'll even get a hot call where somebody, needs you to meet with them right away. So that is me. Irene, all the words are missing here. That is me. That's a little bit on my background here. These are all my opinions. Some of it might be fact, but even if it's facts, just take it as my opinion. This is best practice for me when I call. These are things that I've learned over the years through trial, error, making mistakes, doing stupid things, saying stupid things. Believe me, plenty of stupid stuff comes out of my mouth, especially when I first started calling and people would say things I would have no idea what to say. Real quick, just kind of moving us back here one slide. Let's do a quick shameless plug for anybody that is not currently an agent with Miranda Executive Realty. If you like what you hear here and you want to learn more about what our company can do for you, including offering 50,000 plus leads that you can cold call right now, scan the QR code and we'd love to meet with you, have a private, confidential conversation with you. So, mastering the art of cold calling. Let's get into it. What is a cold call, right? A cold call is exactly what it sounds like, right? It's a call that is not expected, right? It's a call that, it's maybe not even an online lead, right? It's a number that you're kind of calling out of the blue with the hopes that you can somehow turn this person that does not know you into somebody that does know you, right? And why does cold calling matter? Right? Why would we not just call people that know us, like us, and trust us already? Well, there's a lot of reasons why, right? Number one, it's lead generation. That's the reason I cold call, right? Is lead generation. That's, if you've heard me, I've spoken plenty about the 20%, the Pareto's principle, the 5 things that we focus on in real estate to get us from, a lead generation all the way to closing. Right? 3 steps in between. 2 of those steps are going to involve customer contact, right? And if you don't have enough people to call in your sphere, if you don't have enough support from your friends, family, maybe your coworkers, maybe, the people that your barber, your landscaper, whoever else you have, your vendors, then you need to go out and meet more people. You can door knock, right? You can hand out flyers, right? Or you can cold call. Personally, I prefer cold calling because it has me in one place. I can set up my computer. I can have everything in front of me that I need to be prepared to have a conversation with somebody, and I can dial a whole lot more numbers than I can knock on doors within an hour's time, right? You knock on a door, you wait, maybe they answer, maybe they don't. You hear the dog inside barking. You're not sure if they're home. You're kind of sitting there. 2, 3, 4 minutes have gone by. Well, you could have gotten through, 5, 6, 7 phone calls with no answers in that time and finally get to that person that's going to answer by the time you get to that next door. Cold calling is highly, highly effective for lead generation. It's also good to give you some insight into the market, right? What are homeowners thinking? Where are homeowners going? Where are buyers coming from, right? As you're talking to people, you're hearing these things, right? You don't even realize it. You don't realize that people are giving you some really valuable information, really valuable insight, right, into the psychology of a home seller at the moment. By the way, quick side note, when you cold call, you should really only be calling sellers, right? We list to last. Buyers are more of a byproduct of the listings that we take. We wouldn't necessarily, target buyers that, in our leads list or in our calling list, right? Some other reasons to call is, the competitive advantage. You hear a lot of agents out there, they hate cold calling, don't want to do it, right? So you're going to be in a smaller group of people that's going to be willing to do it, right? There's a lot of pain, a lot of rejection, a lot of things that we should not take personal, but for whatever reason, we do end up taking the personal in cold calling, and that just deters people because most people, run away from pain. So they get something that's, they run into some pain point in what they're doing, and they decide they're not going to do it anymore. Cold calling is cost effective, right? Besides the cost of the leads. Maybe have a dialer, maybe you don't. If you're in our brokerage, there's a dialer in your CRM with the leads that are already there. If you subscribe to our lead systems, then they're already there. All you have to do is go in and call them. Leads, dialer, everything is already there. And then skills. You want to be having real estate conversations. You need to be having real estate conversations. So if you are not actively working with buyers or sellers, then you're not having those conversations. Where else can you have them? With potential buyers and potential sellers. Where do you find them? Well, you're going to speak to a lot of potential sellers in a cold calling situation, right? So, a little bit about why I believe you should cold call, some of the advantages of cold calling. Again, I built my business on cold calling. I did not know anybody here. I would sit in my office, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. If I didn't have an appointment, I was on the phones, right? Lead generating, following up with them, trying to get appointments, right? Luckily for me, when I did in 2012, the market was not saturated with real estate agents, maybe as it is today. So I was able to also pick up some market share a little bit quicker, I think, than maybe you would today. So cold calling, it is an art form. It takes a lot, to figure it out. Like a lot of things in real estate, there's a science to it and there's an art, right? The science is going to be knowing your numbers, knowing what list to call, knowing, what to say, but the art, it's kind of like, like drama, right? Like acting, like, whatever, where, you're going to have to learn scripts. You're going to have to learn, embedded commands. There's neuro-linguistic programming. Things like that will help you to improve your art, to be a more effective speaker and to deliver a more effective message, right? So what's the number one rule in cold calling? Do not call the do not call list, right? Do what you want to do, right? But just know that there are some pretty hefty fines if you get caught calling somebody on the do not call list. Every lead that we upload into our system, into Sierra, is scrubbed against the do not call list. Right now, what does that mean that, at some point after they went into our system, they didn't end up on do not call list? No, right? But at the point that we put that lead into the system, it's been scrubbed against do not call. I do not recommend calling a do not call. There are so many other leads out there that you can contact that are not on that list. There's just no reason to take that risk, right? All it takes is one complaint, and then the FTC or whatever is contacting you. They're looking at your call records, and who knows how many do not call numbers you've called. Those fines can really rack up. They can really add up. And to me, why call them when you have access to plenty of other numbers that are not on the do not call list, right? So let's jump into it here. Now that you guys kind of know a little bit about me, a little bit about my background, let's talk about the process of the call. Give me 1 second here. All right. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. right? We're going to be talking about the steps that you need to take. This is all before you've even dialed one phone number, right? The only one that is going to be dependent on the numbers that you called, or dependent on you having already made phone calls, is set your objectives, right? We're going to hit on that one really early on. But you do, in order, you can set a goal, you can have a blind goal, right? You can say, okay, I want to dial 100 numbers and I want to make 10 appointments. Out of those 10 appointments, I want to get 8 listings. Out of those 8 listings, I want to sell all 8. But if you don't have any data to back those numbers up, then you're kind of just making numbers up, and that's fine. Make your numbers up in the beginning, but as you call, make sure you're tracking your numbers, right? We call them your KPIs, right? Everything else, though, you want to have this all set up before you start dialing, right? So this is your process. This is your dialing process. You're going to do some research, set your objectives, make sure you have your scripts and everything handy, have your tools opened up, right? Get some practice, get some role playing going, and just make sure that you're going into it with a proper mindset and a proper environment, right? This is the way that you're going to set yourself up for success when you're calling. So you want to work on all of this. It doesn't take long. Once you've been calling for a while, right? It's just a matter of boom, 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 ready, done, let's go, right? Maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending how long it takes you to, practice your scripts and do some role playing. You should be dialing after that, because it's pretty quick, right? So number one, you want to know what list you're going to be calling, right? Figure out who you're calling. We have a lot of lists. I don't know if this includes every list out there for prospective, type of customers that you could call. But this is our list. This is what's in these leads. You have every single type of these in our CRM if you're with Miranda Executive Realty. A lot of them are being updated every day. For sale by owner, for rent by owner, cash offer sellers, expired, cancel, withdrawn, temp off market, pre-foreclosure. Those are all uploaded literally probably every single day. So it's fresh new leads that go in every day, right? But you need to know who you're going to call before just creating some random list. And you probably only want to call one profile of this type of customer at a time. Otherwise, you're going to be jumping around from one script to the next, trying to figure out who you're talking to. So if you're committed to talking to for sale by owners, then create your calling list based around for sale by owners, right? Create your entire setup. Your scripting and role playing for the day will be for sale by owners, right? So it's important to already determine what type of lead you're going to call. Maybe you want to focus on only one type of lead until you've mastered that type of lead, right? Maybe you want to jump around and one day call this lead, next day call this lead. Maybe you want to just dial all day and jump from one list to another, to another, to another, but you have to have a plan, right? You have to know what list you're going to be calling. And when you're dialing that list, know that this is the list that you're calling, right? Don't put, for sale by owners as for owners with expireds and, with your pre-foreclosure, because they're all going to get mixed up. They're going to get jumbled up, and, you're going to be dialing, they're going to answer. You're going to have to figure out who you're talking to, one list at a time, right? When that list is over, you want to continue, you want to figure out another list, and that's fine. But, highly recommend calling one list at a time at whatever frequency, right? Call a list, go to another list, daily, weekly, monthly, forever. Maybe you only want to ever call expireds, canceled, withdrawn listings. That's fine, right? If you want to master that, then you can master that. That's totally fine, but just know who you're going to call, right? While you're calling, know your numbers. The nice thing about our CRM is it tracks your numbers for you, right? So you can go in and you can see how many hours you were on the phone. You can see how many dials you made. You see how many valid contacts you've made. How many appointments did you set, right? How many converted into buyer agreements? How many converted into listing agreements? How many contracts did you write? Meaning buyer agency agreements or listing agreements. And out of those, how many did you close? Now the closed, all of these, as you go through these numbers, it's going to take a little bit longer to figure out these numbers, right? So what you do is you fill in those numbers every day. You don't need to go back, okay, I dialed 3 hours today. I called, 120 phone numbers in that time. I made 20 contacts and I set one appointment. That's all you can do today, unless that appointment's today, right? There's a listing appointment I went on today and I got one listing appointment, right? And then I wrote one listing contract, but you can't close that listing contract in a day. It's going to go on the MLS. You got to prep it, prepare it to market, do all of those things, right? So maybe 30, 40 days down the line, you've sold that. And then on that day that it closes, that's when you're going to put that you had one closing, right? You don't need to go back 30, 40 days prior and say, oh, well, I went on this listing appointment, 3 months ago or a month and a half ago and put it there. You're going to put it on today's numbers because it closed today, right? And what do these do? These give you your ratios, right? We have a saying, right? What gets measured gets done. You want to lose weight, you should step on the scale every single day. Because if you step on the scale every single day, you're going to know if your weight is moving in the right direction or not. If you're not stepping on the scale every single day, then you're not measuring your progress, and maybe you're 10, 15 pounds going in the wrong direction. Finally, 2 weeks in, you step on the scale and you're like, holy cow, I thought I was eating well and I thought I was doing right. Turns out you weren't. Step on the scale every day, right? And then you're going to get to know your ratios, right? How many numbers are you dialing per hour, right? How many contacts do you get per those dials, right? How many appointments are you getting based on those right? It's going to give you your numbers. And this over time should improve, right? Maybe not your number of dials, maybe not your number of contacts, because those aren't skill-based. Those are luck-based or quality of the phone number-based. Maybe it's hours-based, right? Or time-based, meaning, you might get a higher answer rate in the evenings than you do in the morning. A lot of people, do phone calls early in the morning. They jump on the phone, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30, and they spend however much time. Less people do calling in the evening, right? Maybe you should mix that up and see where you get a higher answer rate, especially if you're mixing up your lists, right? There's no rule that says you have to be on the phone at 9 a.m. every morning. Maybe that's not your time. Maybe you're not even a morning person and you're struggling in the mornings and it's just not your time, right? So you've had 7 cups of coffee. Well, wait till those 7 cups of coffee. For me, I can tell you personally, when I was dialing, I would want to be done by 11 a.m., take a break, because those lunch hours, usually I would get less of an answer rate. People are, if it's a home phone number, usually people are running their errands, they're doing things, doing their lives. So for me, the best times to call were 8 to 10 a.m. and then 4 to 6 p.m. I knew that those were the best times for me to be calling in those lists that I was calling when I was calling heavy, right? So every day, if I could, I wanted to be dialing during those times, right? Those are the times when I would get my highest answer rate, right? So know your numbers, know your percentages, right? How many appointments do you need to go on to get a listing agreement? Over time, this number should get better, right? If you're getting 25% agreement, for every, for your listing appointments, then, that's 1 in every 4. Get that up to 33%. It's 1 in every 3. Get that up to 50%. That's 1 in every 2, right? Is it going to be 100%? I don't know. Maybe for 1 month it will be, 2 months it will be, right? Will you always have 100% listing, signage? Maybe not. Maybe you will. Maybe you're amazing. I don't know, right? It's all skill. But just like everything else that we do, this is going to take you through the progression, right? This is going to show you where you're progressing in your calls, and where your numbers are lower. That tells you where you need to be working on your skills, right? I've made 1,000 phone calls and I haven't set a single appointment. Maybe it's your script, right? Maybe it's your, are you closing? I can tell you one thing that I know is a big issue for a lot of people on these calls is they don't close for the appointment. They call, they say the script, they listen to the customer, and then they get permission to do a follow-up. Okay, well, I'll call you in a few months and, we'll see. Well, why not try to set the appointment now? Is it ever really too soon to meet with somebody to talk about selling their home? right? You don't know how much work they need to do to their home. We've had homes that have taken 2 or 3 months to prepare them just to sell, right? We've had people that we've gone in 6 months ahead of time to give them the plan so that they can prepare for that 2 or 3 months worth of work, right? So they can prepare for that. So you're 6 months out, right? It costs money to do these things. It costs money to work on these things, right? Lisa, you have something? No? All right. Well, save the question for the end anyway. All right. So, what you measure gets done. 100%, right? No matter what you're doing in your life, if you're trying to set a certain goal, if you're trying to achieve something in your life, you need to measure it, right? I want to make $1 million. Okay. Well, don't you think you need to know where you're at on that continuum of dollars, right? And within how much time, or by when, right? And where's that 50% mark where you should have made $500,000, right? No matter what it is, if it's a number, then it's a metric. And if it's a metric, then you can measure it, right? So what's our way, right? Because we have rules, we have things for literally everything. The MX Realty way, right? These are the 5 steps that should happen on every single phone call, right? Always close for the appointment. Make a connection, right? Shouldn't they like you, right? Shouldn't they relate with you in some way, right? Get a key piece of information. Where are you moving? By when do you want to be there? Why are you going there? Right? Ask permission to follow up, right? That key piece of information is going to help you on the follow-up. Hey, we spoke 3 months ago. You said you were moving to Texas to go be with your daughter who's having a baby, in September. Just following up. Still have those plans, right? Now you have some credibility. You didn't make a connection on the first call, make the connection on your follow-up, right? And then make sure you have a valid email address. You have a valid phone number because you're talking to them, right? And don't read their email address to them. Ask them, do you mind if I grab your best email? Because the email that they gave you might be their junk email. A lot of us have them. I have one. I have a junk email when I know that I'm filling something out that I just want to get some information out of it, and I know that they're going to spam me afterwards. I'm going to give you my junk email, so I don't have to look at all the crap that you send me afterwards. What's your best email, or what's your Gmail? If you didn't get the Gmail, you might not have gotten their best email address. By the way, not everybody uses Gmail, but I think most people do, right? So what's the anatomy of a call, right? So we have the objectives, right? The things that you need to talk to, but there's also an anatomy of the call, right? There's going to be a certain flow of the phone call. You need to have your introduction. That's your script, right? Who are you calling, right? Calling FISBO. I'm calling about, 123 Main Street. Is that property still for sale? Well, that's your introduction, if that's what you chose. Maybe you find a better line that works better for you. Jump your introduction around until you find one that works for you, right? For your style. We all have different personalities. We all have different strengths. We all have different weaknesses. You need to find the one that works for you. Build a rapport, right? This kind of goes back to making that connection, right? What's your value proposition? You're calling expireds, right? I specialize in selling great homes like yours that weren't marketed correctly and didn't sell the first time around, right? Here's how I do it. Handling objections, back to your scripts. Go back to the script, right? What's the objection? Because no matter what list you call, what you're going to learn is most people say pretty much the same thing on these calls. You call expired, I'm staying with my agent, decided not to sell, going to sell it myself, I'm going to wait X amount of days or X amount of months or weeks or whatever until I sell it. They say the same thing. But what do you say in response to that? Right? And have a call to action. Schedule an appointment. Close for the appointment. If you can't close for the appointment, close for the follow-up. Is it okay if I follow up with you within X amount of days, within X amount of weeks, X amount of months, right? So let's break that down a little bit more, right? In your introduction. Number one, be prepared for them to answer the phone. Be ready, right? Don't be over here, you're working over here doing something, all of a sudden, your dialer's going and you hear that they answer. And then you're going to be off. Focus. Be ready. Practice that script so you know what to say, when to say it, how to say it. It should sound natural. And if it doesn't at first, that's okay, right? Because over time you will, and you'll internalize it, right? Speak with confidence. Don't BS, don't lie, but be confident, right? And then engage them, right? Who controls the conversation? The person who's asking all the questions, right? What's next? Building the rapport, right? Well, how do you build rapport? You get to know somebody, right? Get some information from them. Listen when they're talking, right? Again, if they're talking, don't be over here, doing whatever you're doing. Pay attention. People can tell, even over the phone, they can tell if you're paying attention, right? I've done it. I do it. Sometimes I'm in a meeting and, on a phone call and I'm not paying attention, and somebody calls on me to ask me what I think about it, and I realize I wasn't listening to anything they said at all. And I feel terrible, right? Follow up on what they're telling you, right? Ask them, what's important about that? Why do you want to be here? Why this, why that? And make sure it's an open-ended question, right? We all, well, I don't know about we all, if you have kids, what do they say when you ask them how school was? How was school today? Good. They all say that, right? I know my kids do. Can't even ask them how school was anymore because they know exactly what they're going to say. Good, right? How was this thing that you did hanging out with your friend? Good, right? It needs to be an open-ended question, right? What did you have for lunch today? What did you learn in science today? Right? What are you doing in PE right now? Right? Whatever it is, doesn't matter, but ask an open-ended question where it can be more than just yes, no, good, bad, maybe, right? Whatever. It's going to require a real answer, right? And what's your value proposition? Should you be prepared on that profile of call or that profile of lead? Should you be prepared with what you have to offer that person? Yes. Yes, you should, right? If I could show you on paper how I could net you more money, would you be interested in meeting me then? What's your value proposition? What are you offering them? Why are you better than the other person? Do you need to do the entire listing appointment right then and right there? No. But you might need to answer some questions about why you're better, and you might want to be prepared, right? And then don't speak these long, like drawn out, I don't really know what the hell I'm saying, so I'm just going to kind of make it up as I go kind of things, and I hope by the end of it, this whole thing makes sense kind of conversation, right? Same thing. Can't explain it to a 5-year-old and have them understand it and be able to repeat it back to you, then you probably don't understand it in the first place. So make sure you understand what you're saying, and you can say it in just a couple of sentences, right? Why are you better than the previous agent? Well, let me tell you why, right? Find some keywords. So one thing that I do for keywords is I listen for the customer to say certain things in their conversation. There's words that people usually repeat when they speak. And if I can find those words and I can use those in my conversation or in what I'm saying, they're going to relate with me and they're not even going to really realize it, right? Mirror and match, right? Match their style of speaking, match their speed of speaking, match their tone, match their inflection, match their favorite words. They're going to have them. We all do. If you're an agent in the office and I talk to you enough, I might know what your favorite words are. And maybe now when I'm talking to you, you're going to catch me saying your favorite words to you. And I'm sorry for that. And then close with the appointment. There's no reason you can't close with the appointment right away. You don't need to do any of these other steps. Hey, this is Joe. Your house is you're thinking about selling your house. I saw that. Do you want me to come over for an appointment? That's a stupid line, right? But it can be right there. There's no reason that you don't have to say, hey, this is Joe Miranda from MX Realty. How are you doing today? Right? Well, when you ask them how they're doing, they're going to hang up on you. Right? You got to get through. Right? What's a contact? Contact is you got through your first opening script and you got an answer. That's a contact. If hey, this is Joe Miranda from MX Realty, click, that's not a contact. Right? So know the difference between a phone call and a contact. and close for the appointment. Every opportunity, right? We used to play a game called a hang-up game. Just keep talking to them, keep them on the phone. Keep them on the phone. My God, keep them on the phone. Keep them on the phone. Because the more you keep them on the phone, the more you keep them talking, the more details you're finding, the more opportunity you have to close. Keep people on the phone. Play the hang-up game. Keep them on the phone until they hang up on you or give you the appointment. Right? I mean, don't be offensive. Don't be rude. Don't be, anything but professional. Keep them on the phone. If they're talking to you, then they're talking. Right? Don't be in a hurry to get off the phone with them. Talk to them. Get to know them. Build a relationship. People want to work with you because they know you, like you, trust you. Right? And then understand. Right? The objection handling is in understanding the need. Right? Get behind what is really driving them. That's your best objection handler. Right? Go back to the pain of what their situation is. Didn't you say you wanted to be in Texas to be with your daughter who's about to have the baby? What changed? What happened? What changed? Right? What went wrong? I don't know. Right? What did you say? What did you do? How did that go? Right? So just, make sure that you're getting behind the need, and how do you provide the solution to their problem? Continue to close to the appointment. Right? If you don't know what to say, use feel, felt, found. Right? Feel, felt, found. Mr. Seller, I understand how you feel. I've had a lot of I've had a lot of sellers that have been in your same situation. And this is, and what we found was that by implementing this specific solution to that problem, right? Sorry, I said it wrong. I understand how you feel about the situation, right? And a lot of people have felt the same way. I've had other sellers that have been in this same situation, right? And by implementing this one solution, this is what they found, right? Feel, felt, found, right? What do you feel, right? Other people feel the same way as you do, right? Other people have been through this situation. They felt the same way that you do. By putting this situation into action, they found that this solution works, right? This is how you get on their level. This is how you're relatable to them, right? How you understand their problems, because their problems, people feel like their problems are intimate and specific really just to themselves, but most of the time they're not, right? Most of the time, most problems in real estate, there's people that have been through it before, right? And then close. Always be closing. And is there any one way to close a customer? No. Is there a way that you should close on your calls? Yes. Should you have a script ready for the close that you're going to use on your appointment? Definitely yes. Right? Figure out which one works best for you. Right? When I've been talking to somebody for a long time, right? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we've been on the phone for about 45 minutes. And really, to me, it makes sense that we should just meet and speak in person, don't you think? Can I come by sometime, maybe this evening, around 5 p.m., or is tomorrow about 10 a.m. better for you? Right? Offer them, 2 times if you can. An evening and a morning, if you can. Right? 2 different days, if you can. Right? But have your close ready. And just like your script, because there's no one script for any one lead type, there's also not just one close. Right? So what works best for you? What fits your personality? What fits the customer's personality? Who are you talking to? Who's on the other side of that conversation? Right? Who are you speaking with? Fit their style, fit your style. Find the hybrid that works for both. Right? Maybe an expired close is going to be different than a for sale by owner close, which maybe both of those are different than a close for an online lead. It's definitely going to be different than a close that would use for somebody that was referred to you that called you. Right? Would you be, would you do like, a hard close with somebody that called you, you probably don't need to. They called you, right? But some people need a hard close. CEO type people, just get to the point. Get to the point, right? Let me come by today at 5 p.m., right? I'm going to be by there today at 5 p.m. I'm going to be in the neighborhood. Let me this, let me that, right? Whatever it is, figure out which one, right? There's more. There's more, right? The take back close, right? I mean, it doesn't always need to be that, right? But whatever it is, figure out the close that works for you and practice these. Practice these regularly. Practice different ones. Internalize them, right? You're going to add this verbiage to your arsenal of words that you already have, right? Now you're going to have more options, right? Would you continue to use the same close if you're on the phone with somebody, you're playing the hang-up game? Close, 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 close. You're going to say the same thing over and over, or you're going to try a different close the second time and a different close the third time, right? See how many of these you can get through. This is only 10 closes. There's probably more, right? Maybe there's one in here that I don't have that works better for you. Maybe you have one that you don't see here. Do you need to use these exact words? Maybe not. Because if these words are not your words, then you're going to sound funny reading them. Make them your words, right? Put them into your own words. How does this work best for you? How are you most comfortable speaking these words? Right, there's only 10 here. I know there's a lot more closes out there. Google it, right? Find more closes. Try them all. I do not think you should use the same close over and over and over on the same customer. There's no rule that says you only need to close for the appointment one time, right? Keep closing till you get the appointment or they hang up on you. You got nothing to lose. You got everything to gain. You got everything to gain, right? Hey, do you want to sell your house? No. Okay, bye. Right? Well, you kind of gave up too early, right? Right? Why don't you want to sell your house? Because my last agent sucked. Oh, tell me more about that. What'd that agent do? They didn't show the house. They made me show the house. They disappeared. The photos were, from their iPhone 13. Right? Everything about them sucked. Oh, wow. Here's my value proposition. Going for the close. Right? Keep them talking. Right? What do you do if you can't get the appointment? Right? What happens when you don't get the appointment? Right? You've been through all this. Close them, close them, close them, close them, close them. They're just not ready. Not everybody's going to be ready today, regardless of where they are, what their situation is, where they come from, what they want to do, where they're going. Not everybody's going to be ready today. Some people you just close with a follow-up. Right? And follow-up is great. I love cliche sayings. The fortune is in the follow-up. Right? Because that's where your money is. I tell my agents when they're calling, make one good connection a day at least that you can follow up with in the future. Right? If you can't get the appointment, the next best thing is the follow-up. Why? Because statistically speaking, by the sixth follow-up, most agents have stopped calling, but not us. Right? Because we have a lot of this already built into our CRM that you're just going to go do this. It's going to automatically remind you to follow up with them. It's our CRM will not let you drop the ball on a customer. Right? If you get one good follow-up a day, right? If there's 250 work days in the year, by the end of the year, by the end of that 12 months, you're going to have 250 people in your follow-up system. Is it likely that at some point in the very near future, one of those 250 people that you're following up with is going to turn into your customer? I think yes. Right? What about after 2 years? Now you got 500. Or maybe you did even better. After 2 years, you have 650. Right? So, just make sure that you don't drop the ball on the follow-up. Fortune is in the follow-up. Why are you doing all of this work? Why are you doing all of this work not to get them to agree to allow you to follow up, right? They're going to be in an action plan, or they're going to be in some sort of plan, right? But maybe you need to follow up with them manually. Maybe you want to follow up with them from your cell phone, right? Make sure there's automations happening. That's why you're grabbing their best email address or their Gmail, so that you can send them emails that just go out automatically, whether it's market alerts and market updates or e-alerts, right? If you don't know the difference between those, you should probably ask, right? Email drip campaigns, right? Holiday drip campaigns, right? Set it and forget it. Just keep your name in front of them. Keep your face. I'm telling you, it works. I've got customers, I've got people, leads that have come into my system that I've never ever spoken with, and they've called me because they've been receiving my emails. And the nice thing about our CRM is it'll tell you if they're opening your emails. It'll also tell you if you have a bad email address and it bounces. So when you do talk to them, you can get their right email address. Right? Follow up till they buy, sell, or die. You have the lead, you paid for the lead, or you worked for the lead. Keep following up. If it's a buyer or a seller and you're calling them, you get the appointment, and for whatever reason they change their mind, they're not thinking to buy or sell, you should still be calling them and following up with them because you took the time to build that relationship. Maybe they can give you a referral. I have a customer right now. This is a true story. He's a seller, right? But he's not a seller yet. First, his son's going to be a buyer, and then he has another son who's selling and buying, right? And then he'll be a seller. Like 4 transactions and 3 people from one person, right? And then on the day of the follow-up, well, when you're calling, when you're having these conversations, make sure you're taking notes, right? Why get a bunch of information? Why have a 45-minute conversation to call somebody up and you don't even remember that conversation you had before? This is where the key information comes in. That's why you gathered the key information, so you can remind them, because they might not ever, maybe it's an expired and they've had 95 phone calls since you called them 2 weeks ago. You know, hey, we spoke 2 weeks ago. You told me this and this and this and this, and we discussed this, and I just wanted to call and follow up on that. They're going to remember you now, and if they don't remember you, at least they'll know that you did have a legitimate conversation with them, so you built a little bit of trust with them on that one. Right? Take your notes. And if you're in our CRM, you know, it does record your conversation so you can go back and listen to it. But what if you've had, and I've had them, an hour-long conversation with somebody? Do you really want to listen to that entire hour of conversation before you can call that person? Or is it better if you just took notes? And you can just read those notes real quick, right? The cliff notes, the highlights of that conversation. What if you're calling a husband and a wife? Right? In my notes, I reference who I'm talking to. If I spoke to the husband, I put Mr. Mr. not ready to sell yet. Call me back in a week. Call back in a week. The wife answers, right? Mrs. My husband's crazy. I don't know what he's talking about. We're never selling our house. Okay. Now when I call back, the husband answers, hey, your wife said you're crazy, right? Mr. Your wife said you're crazy. What's going on here? Mr. No, my wife is crazy, right? But now you know when you call this number, because if it's a landline, some people still have landlines, right? When you call that number, you're going to know who you spoke with. You're going to have the Mr. and Mrs. separated. When you spoke to the husband, he said this. When you spoke to the wife, she said this. You can tell the husband what the wife said, the wife what the husband said. Don't gossip, right? But if it's relevant information, it's going to help you, right? What if you call, hey, I spoke with your husband a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, he had mentioned that you guys were having this problem and da-da-da-da, whatever's happening. And I just wanted to call and follow up on that and see, if you guys are still whatever. Yeah, you are, right? The wife knows that you spoke to the husband because you have the key piece of information. And you remembered that key piece of information because you put it in your notes, right? Do you have a follow-up day? We do follow-ups on Tuesdays, right? Our manual follow-ups that we enter, they all fall on a Tuesday. So Tuesday morning, we go into our tasks, and our task box is full because that's our day to do follow-ups. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is cold calling. Maybe a follow-up if it was like, a big urgent one, or, a lead that automatically falls into some sort of follow-up calling campaign. Those will hit in there too. But the leads that we put in there manually, right? Call me back in 30 days. Cool. Call you back in 30 days. I'll probably call you back in like 22 days, more likely, and it's going to be on a Tuesday. Right? Call me back in 6 months. Call you back in probably 5 months, and it's going to be on a Tuesday. Right? Put them in manually. What about your tools? What should you have in front of you when you're making these calls? Should you have the MLS in front of you? I think you should, right? Hopefully you're dialing through Sierra. If you're not, I hope you're dialing through something, right? Because manually dialing phone numbers is really just not fun, right? We use the Sierra dialer. That's our CRM. If you use a different CRM and you want to use their dialer, that's fine. I don't care what you use. But having a dialer, putting a call list, and it just dials for you, right? They didn't answer, move to the next call. They didn't answer, move to the next call. They answered, right? Go to your script, boom, pop it up, right? I like IMAP. You could also go to the property appraisers. Personally, I prefer IMAP. I think they do a lot better job of putting all of the relevant information on one page. Property appraisers, you're clicking tabs and you have to know how to navigate through each one. Are you calling Miami? Are you calling Broward? Are you calling Palm Beach? Right? Where are you calling? Right? Then you have to go to that specific property appraiser's website to find that property and to get the information on it. Right? If you set the appointment, should your calendar be ready and open? If you're going to give them the option of 2 different appointments, should you know what those 2 options are going to be? When am I available? Okay, so it's 10 a.m. I'm available this evening at 6 p.m. and I'm also available tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Right? You should know when you're available. Be prepared for the appointment. Don't let them catch you off guard. The other thing the other tool I recommend that's not on here is have a map. Right? Google Maps, Yahoo Maps, Apple Maps, it doesn't matter, right? But, even as real estate agents, we don't know every part of every city, every county, all of the different subdivisions, all of the different areas. So have a map ready, right? Just so that you know where you're talking about, right? So that the location that you're in, because you might be familiar with the general area, but you might not be familiar with that specific subdivision. Is it going to be helpful to know proximity to schools, maybe their workplace, I don't know, a grocery store? Is it going to be helpful to know if, you're in Jupiter and it's in Jupiter Farms and, there's all this land around them? I think yes, right? So if you're calling somebody and you're not familiar, you should have a map in front of you. IMAP is nice. You can click on it and it'll just open up Google Maps for you, right? Same thing with the MLSs. If it's an expired and you're looking at the listing, you can open up a map on there. If it's never hit the MLS, if it's a brand new lead, it's never been in the MLS, it's not going to do you any good. But the MLS is going to tell you, what homes in that neighborhood are selling for, price per square foot, things like that, right? Be prepared. Proper planning prevents poor performance. Be prepared. How else do you prepare? Practice your scripts and role play. Right? Find a scripting partner. Find somebody that is willing to call or practice in similar hours to you, right? We're going to get on the phone every morning at 8:30 a.m. We're going to practice our scripts. Hey, John Smith, who are you calling today? I'm going to call expireds. Okay, great. Well, John Smith, you should probably practice the expired script on me, right? What close are you going to work on today? I'm going to work on the assumptive close. Okay, cool, John Smith. Work on the assumptive close. Right? Internalize these things. In the beginning, it's difficult. Right? It takes time to learn these things, but after a while, you learn them. And all of this cold calling is going to make you better on all of your appointments because you're already going to have some of these objections. You're already going to have responses to them. You're already going to know how to close. Right? Is it important when you're on an appointment showing homes that you know how to close to get them to write the contract? When you know that they've looked at the property that they should write the contract on, is it important that you know how to close that? Yes. You're closing throughout the entire process, not just on cold calling for the appointment, but on the appointment for the contract, right? And if it's a buyer, right, at the appointment for the purchase contract, right? Whatever it is, you're constantly negotiating, so you need to be practicing these scripts. We have all of this in our agent resources. It's all there. If you need scripts, we got them. If not, if you don't like the ones that we have, just Google it. Google has everything. You don't like those, then ChatGPT it. It doesn't really matter, right? Honestly, it doesn't really matter what you say, because everybody's stuff is different. A script that works for me might not work for you. You might need to change it up a little bit. I can tell you what works best for me, what doesn't work for me, but that doesn't mean it's going to work best for you, and it's going to be your script, right? The last thing is your mindset and your environment, right? Mindset's really important. So, number one, when I do these, so I have a desk that goes up and down, right? So when I do trainings, when I'm doing calls, when I need to be, more attentive and more at my best, I stand up, right? Other things, I don't know, that I could just kind of whatever, office stuff, whatever, I can sit down. Some days, like at the end of the day, I don't even realize it until the end of the day that I've been standing all day, right? And then, we go somewhere and I'm walking and I'm just like, holy cow, my feet hurt, man. And I got a mat underneath me, but it doesn't matter. When you've been standing all day, right, your body's going to be sore. It's also better for, your health to stand up. If you're like me in the beginning and you're going to be calling 8 to 10 hours a day, do you want to be sitting for 8 to 10 hours a day? You're going to get a pulmonary embolism, man. Right? Stand up from time to time. If you don't have a standing desk, then, figure it out. Right? There's solutions. What's your best solution? Right? But be working in an environment that's conducive to what you're trying to do. Make sure that you're working in an office environment that, you can close the door. This is my office. I work from home. This is my home office. Right? When I do these meetings, I close the door. If I'm going to be doing calls, I close the door. If my wife's out there, making noise, got music on, I close the door. Right? Get rid of all your distractions. You got small kids, figure that out before the call. They may not cost you the appointment. Maybe somebody will love that your kids are right there. And if you can't, then don't. When I remember my office used to be in my bedroom, and my wife had a job, and I'd have to be at home, and I had 2 girls at home during summer, and I literally trained my girls. My youngest one, I can still see it in my head. Literally trained my daughter. I said, if I have this headset on, and you come into the office, just stand there and wait, and when I take the headset off, then we can talk. And I remember she would stand there so good. I was so lucky that she listened to this. She would stand there so good and wait for me to finish my call. Once I finished the call, I'd pause my dialing session, I'd take the headset off, and she would have my full attention. Be prepared for that. Do you have a loud dog that barks every time Amazon shows up? Did the dog go somewhere? Maybe not. I don't know. Right? What does your office environment look like? Right? I got all kinds of stuff. You can kind of see some of these papers over here. Got all kinds of stuff I can look to when I'm going through my calls. Right? Good posture makes a big difference. Right? Open your diaphragm. Right? Make sure that you can speak with authority. If you speak soft and they can hardly hear what you're saying and not really sure, maybe if you're mumbling, it's not going to help you. Right? Be assertive. You're the boss. Make sure that your environment supports your goals. Right? And then get your mindset right. It's not in here. I don't know why. I think we missed it. Affirmations. Right? I would say affirmations, and people thought I looked, I thought I looked stupid, right? I'm a lean, mean appointment setting machine. That's so stupid, right? But you know what? Tell yourself, right? What are you going to say? Like, oh, I'm no good at cold calls. I didn't even want to do this. All people ever do is hang up on me. People don't like me. How does that help you make your calls, man? Nobody likes Eeyore. Is Eeyore anybody's favorite character? I don't know. Maybe. I hope not. Maybe Piglet. I don't know. Winnie the Pooh, Tigger. I don't know. Take your choice, right? But Eeyore is depressing. You're gonna hang out with Eeyore all day. You gotta listen to Eeyore on the phone. Well, I guess I could sell your house, but I don't know if I'm the best choice, and kind of tired today, and like nobody wants that. Have some freaking energy on the call, man. Say some affirmations, pump yourself up, listen to music, right? What music gets your blood pumping? Before listing appointments, when I'm driving to the appointment, I put on my hype music, right? And there's certain songs that I listen to that hype me up. They get my blood pumping. Do you want your blood pumping? Yes. You want to oxygenate your brain. You want to oxygenate everything, right? Put yourself in the best environment possible to make these calls. Hype yourself up, right? Money flows to me abundantly, right? What is your affirmation? Come up with some affirmations. Look stupid. It's okay, right? Because nobody looks stupid at the bank, right? It doesn't matter what anybody around you thinks. Doesn't matter what your family thinks. Doesn't matter what your friends think. It doesn't matter, because if you fail, it's on you, right? Who cares if for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, while you're learning how to do this and while you're building all of this up, that everybody just laughs at you and says you're foolish. He who laughs last laughs loudest, or she, right? It doesn't matter what people say. Believe me, I've had all kinds of people judge me during cold calling. I remember when I first started, I would be in the office all day, right? And they would ask me, why are you in the office all day? There's no work in the office. Well, yeah, there is. This is my work. Where am I going to go? I don't have an appointment. I have to set an appointment, right? And I sucked. And then I had people that would criticize my calls because they'd hear what I say. Well, why'd you say that? Next time, why don't you try saying this? I've passed them all in real estate by now. I sell more houses than all of them by now, right? While they're criticizing, right, the haters, right, they're in their comfortable little position over there. Some of them don't even have a real estate license anymore. They quit. Or maybe they just, I don't know if they quit. Maybe they were forced to quit, right? Because they ran out of money. Go get a career. What are you going to do? Be a barista at Starbucks. I don't care, right? But if you care what people think, then they're going to hold you back, right? The crab trap. People think they're protecting you. People think they're helping you. They're not, right? Put yourself out there. Be bold, right? Overcome your biggest fears. Put yourself in an environment that is going to support your goals, that is going to pull you forward, and it's going to put you into a positive mindset, right? Put some of your amp up music on in the background. Sometimes when I do my calls, right, that music's playing in the background. I got Alexa going, and I'm playing a certain channel or whatever, and it's real quiet. Nobody else can hear it, but I hear it. Keeps my mind right. It all starts in your mind. All of this starts in your head, because you might know all of this. You may be ready to do all of this, but if your mind doesn't believe that you can do this or you should be doing this, you might not do it. So make sure your mind is right. Thank you guys for showing up. Before we go, one last shameless plug. If you liked what you heard and you want to hear more about this, click the link. Let's see what we can do to to help you grow your career. Right? Let's see how we can support you in growing your career. Again, we do these Ask the Brokers every 2 weeks. Our next training is going to be on July 23rd. If you're a member of the office, just know that in between the 2nd and 4th, you got the 1st and the 3rd. This is only for agents in the office, where we do the roundtable group coaching. We tackle the problems. Sometimes nobody brings problems, so I talk about the problems that we run into, and then it usually turns into me ranting. But even my rants, I think, can be helpful. So, if show up. We don't believe in doing crazy, excessive amounts of training. I need you to take what we trained you this week and put it into action right away. You don't have a need to do another training right now. There's nothing else that you need to know. Start making phone calls. Come to next week's training and we'll figure out what else you need to know. But if you're sitting in a classroom, then it means you're scared to do this, right? Most people, what I find is they go to a lot of classes and they take a lot of trainings and they do a lot of things, but they don't show up in their business. Show up in your business. The leads are there. If you're in this office, everything's there for you. Make it happen. Nobody's going to make it happen for you guys. So I hope to see you next week as the agents. If not, I hope to see you in 2 weeks on Ask the Broker. Don't stay stuck, guys. Take care. Thanks for showing up.